Hello, this is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. Google Podcast, Spotify, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Dose of Dylan. Got a lot of good topics today. Mainly football yet again. I will do a Where Did I Go Wrong segment. And I will talk a lot about Jimmy G. Okay. Alright. So I guess I'll address possibly the biggest story of today. Not any breaking news, really, but apparently, so Dana White said that Brady and Gronk were pretty close to joining the Raiders in 2020. But it sounds like Gruden blew it up, and Gronk agreed. Gronk said that's exactly what happened, so this is a credible source. All I can say about this is Brady dodged a bullet. The Raiders were a mess up until this year when they got Devontae Adams. And, it's really kind of, this really kind of showing the side of Brady that we haven't seen. The more business side, he's talking to he was talking to teams way before he was at free agency. We now find out that the Dolphins, yes, they tampered with him, but he was talking with them before he was even available to go anywhere as a free agent. I mean, I guess he could have traded him if he really wanted, but this guy's making deals 2 to 3 years before we even know. But yeah, Brady dodged a huge bullet here. The Raiders, Gruden was a mess. The Raiders were just really screwed up until this year. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure Brady can. Yes, he's Tom Brady, but he can only do so much with an organization with that kind of ownership. Okay, so Kenny Pickett, I kind of praised him last week for his performance. He put together another great few possessions yesterday. He went 6 for 7, 76 yards and a touchdown. He looks like the future. And, the question is, when does that start for the Steelers? Because the Steelers oftentimes in the last few years have been a little slow. They were too slow to get a new starter. Too slow to move off Big Ben. They missed out on Russell Wilson. That was... They could have traded for him. They could have went for him. I'm sure they could have offered the Seahawks a few decent guys. But none of that happened. But, I would start the rookie. I was a little iffy about it at first because, we didn't know who he was, but... I mean, I guess I'll wait to see the next preseason game, but he looks NFL ready. And if he's a guy that you can build off of, then do it. You don't have to waste time with Trubisky as your starting quarterback. We know Trubisky is not a very good player at quarterback. I said last year I thought he was a great backup for Josh Allen in Buffalo, but... yeah, that's what he is, a great backup. So why would you waste time starting him when you have Kenny Pickett, right in the backfield, not in the backfield, sitting right there, who has been showing you why he deserves to be a starter multiple times. I mean, I would, if I were the Steelers, I wouldn't blink on this. This seems... like I said, maybe wait till next game to see what you really have, but I think he's proven that he has a lot to give, and definitely a lot more than Trubisky. So, even if they traded for Matt Ryan, that would have been better than having Trubisky. They could have won with anyone, but they were too slow to do it. So, I know they have a culture kind of thing to protect, but they have to stop being so stubborn. They have to change their ways, and I think they have to step out of their comfort zone, you know? They gotta change their culture. That's what it really boils down to. And the way to do that is start by sitting Trubisky on the bench where he belongs. It's not an insult. I do think if Kenny Pickett is not it through the first few games, you can switch right to Trubisky. But why waste time? All right. So Jordan Love, better than week 1 of the preseason, but he went 12 for 24, 50%, 113 yards and a touchdown. Now, I knew this pick was bad the second it happened. Okay, I get it. Rodgers isn't exactly, the best, the easiest person to work with. And yes, he declined a little bit he had a bit of a 2 to 3 year decline, a little bit. In that declining spot, quote unquote, he actually went the most games without throwing a pick. So he was not really declining. He was having a few kind of off years. I'm sorry. And I get it. If you want to go out and get maybe a decent backup in the draft, at least wait until the final rounds. Don't trade up for one in the first. Are you serious? Especially, I looked through the draft. You know what players they could have gotten? Receivers, specifically? Because 3 years later, after that, they have no number 1 receiver. Sammy Watkins, okay. Randall Cobb, alright, whatever. Yeah, they're veterans. Randall Cobb is not going to be who he was in 2014. Sammy Watkins hasn't been a number 1 receiver since, Buffalo. You remember when he was on Buffalo? I forgot for a while, too. Yeah, because he went to the Rams and then to the Chiefs, and he was not number 1 receiver on either of them. The Packers missed out on T. Higgins. Was a great player for the Bengals last year. Who made the Super Bowl, by the way. Michael Pittman seems to be a very good, capable of being a number 1 guy. Van Jefferson on the Rams. You know how he was kind of important in the the Super Bowl when they had this year. They could have had all those guys instead of Jordan Love, who they have went 3 years without using. And after 3 years, he hasn't really shown any promise. Remember when Aaron Rodgers was there? Rodgers was talented enough where... Because Favre still has stuff left. He still had things left in the tank. He threw, didn't he throw 40 touchdowns in Minnesota? He still had stuff left in the tank. But they had Aaron Rodgers sitting there. And he was talented. And he showed promise. So they switched to Aaron Rodgers. Because he was the younger guy. Favre was getting older. And they didn't know how much time he had left. So they traded him. And Favre was still good. But long term, the Packers won in that. I don't see the Packers winning long term in this. Not even short. I don't see them winning at all in this situation. Because Jordan Love is 3 years in, and he played a lot in college, and he's not showing any promise. And it's even more annoying knowing that there are plenty of capable receivers still on the board. Also, Gabriel Davis, who went to the Bills. All these guys, it's not a coincidence that all these guys, except for Michael Pittman, were on a Super Bowl contender this year. And they all had some sort of... No, they weren't the main guy. They weren't the number 1 guy. But they had plenty of contribution to the contenders this year. Alright. little passionate about that if you didn't realize. So the Panthers are starting Baker Mayfield. Kind of the obvious. Not really, because Sam Darnold, I think that just shows the problem with Sam Darnold. He had a head start, by the way, in that, because he knew that system better than Sam Darnold, better than Baker Mayfield. He had more experience with that system, and he had a head start, and he still lost it. But I gotta say, this makes the Browns-Panthers game significantly more watchable. If it was just Sam Darnold versus the Browns without Deshaun Watson, that's not watchable at all. And if Deshaun Watson wasn't coming back the week they play the Texans, that game's unwatchable. But, it would be great for Baker Mayfield to win that game. Because think about it. All this Watson drama with the Browns. The Browns were so locked in on Deshaun Watson instead of Baker Mayfield. They paid someone who was on trial a fully guaranteed deal. And then they go into week 1 and lose to Baker Mayfield. That would be the ultimate slap in the face for the Browns. And, we've always known the Browns weren't the best organization at all. But that would just make them look even dumber. I still don't get how you pay a quarterback who is on trial a fully guaranteed deal. And we're going to get to that soon, actually. We're going to roll right into that. The Ravens offered Lamar Jackson more money than Kyler Murray got, which was a lot. And he's looking for a fully guaranteed deal. And this is another part of the Watson effect. When a guy when they paid him, they were so locked in on him that they didn't care that he was on trial. They were like, you know what? We got to get this guy for the long run. And that's why younger quarterbacks are asking for fully guaranteed deals. Because the Browns paid bad behavior. Should we really be letting the Browns set the market, set the standard for quarterbacks and how much they're getting paid? The Ravens are very much more efficiently ran than the Browns. The Ravens are a much better organization than the Browns. They always have been. I really don't think... I don't think the Ravens are going to let that happen. I think they're going to come up... They're going to negotiate with Lamar. And, I don't think... I think eventually they're just not going to... they're just going to possibly put an end to the contract negotiations, or they just come to an agreement. They pay him like Kyler Murray money, but not fully guaranteed. Now, I'm if I'm them, I'm paying Lamar Jackson 100%. I don't think it's very hard to realize the potential he has, and yes, he only has one playoff win. He's in year 5 or whatever. Did Aaron Rodgers have a lot of playoff wins in year 5? Not really. And of course people after that are going to bring up, well, Tom Brady, yeah. If we keep comparing people to Tom Brady, no one's going to look good. I hope you realize. No one's going to look good when compared to Tom Brady. Because he's Tom Brady. So, alright. So, Daniel Jones actually surprised me yesterday. He went 14 for 16 for 116 yards in a preseason game. No, I'm not going to switch up on what I believe with Daniel Jones. I don't think he... unless he does very well in the, regular season, the first, 8 weeks of the regular season, I'm going to have trouble really believing that the Giants are going to keep him as the starting quarterback. Again, Tyrod Taylor right behind him. Tyrod Taylor has a winning record. He's one of the best backups in the league. But, he looked good yesterday. And some people, very few, but some would argue, Brian Dable, he had Josh Allen. Made Josh Allen into an MVP candidate, yeah. Josh Allen was one of the best prospects coming out of college. He had talent before he reached Dable. He didn't pop until his third year. His first 2 years were a little rough, especially with the completion percentage. But he had talent. I think Dable did give him the extra push, but I don't think he made him into the star he was or became. So I don't see that happening with Daniel Jones either. Maybe he can give him a little push, but I don't know. I mean, I can see the Giants. They did have a lot of injuries last year. If they can stay healthy, I might be able to talk myself into second in the division. Because you guys know where I stand on the winner of that division. I think it's going to be the Eagles. I think the Eagles are the only team with any promise in that division. But I think Washington comes in fourth. I think Washington is last place. I don't think they're good at all. Then you got Dallas and the Giants. They are both teams that I really have a bad feeling about, but I think they're all better than Washington. And the Giants I've always felt had a good receiving core. Well, last year I felt they had a good receiving core, just a bad distributor, Daniel Jones. I think Kenny Golladay is good. I think Kadarius Toney actually showed promise. If Saquon stays healthy finally, that's not a bad offense at all. Their defense is actually a little bit better than everyone thinks. So I can talk myself, because Dallas does not have a good defense. They're actually the opposite of the Giants. With Gallup and Washington out, they don't have a good receiving core, but they have the distributor in Dak Prescott. So I'm actually probably higher on the Giants than I am the Cowboys, because the Cowboys have an aging O-line. They have one good receiver that's going to be there for the entire season, hopefully, in CeeDee Lamb. And they have a good quarterback. Other than that, what do they have? They have a bad defense. Their running game is weak when they don't start Pollard. If they started Pollard, it's pretty above average running back core. But they don't do that. So Alright, I think the Eagles are first. I'm going to say Giant. I don't want to say it. I gotta see their schedules. Alright, so maybe I'll come back tomorrow. And then I'll tell you my predictions for the NFC East. But Eagles first, Washington fourth, interchangeable between the Giants and the Cowboys right now. Alright. So, okay. What's it called? I'm going to talk about Russell Wilson in the top 100 again, because more of it was released, and the more that gets released, the more ridiculous it gets. Russell Wilson was 61st, obviously. Kyler Murray, 57, which is okay, I guess. Also, it's the quarterbacks of 2022. So, but I think Wilson was still very I think it should be voted on. Also, I think it's also voted on, like, because you can't just put, like, if someone, let's say Daniel Jones had a great year next year, you can't put him at, like, number 5 on the top 100. Like, if he was, like, top 3 MVP candidate, you can't put him in the top 10, top 100 for 1 year. But so I think it should be kind of based off the year, kind of based on their overall performance in the last few years. But, I don't think Kyler Murray should be ahead of Wilson. Dak Prescott definitely shouldn't be ahead of Wilson. Herbert's debatable. Lamar is debatable. Lamar was hurt, actually, for a lot of the year, so I don't know. I mean, I don't think Lamar's better. I don't think Prescott's better. Stafford, maybe. There's an argument to be made. I don't really think so, though. Burrow, Herbert, there's arguments to be made, but you can give Herbert and Burrow the edge, I guess, if they're voting on this year. But Wilson is a better quarterback than both of them, and he should be much higher than 61. I really don't. I mean, sometimes it takes a while for the truth. I think this year, people are going to be high on him because players vote on this. I think this year people are going to be higher on him because we're going to see how valuable. I mean, I don't think people underestimate his value to the Seahawks. I think a lot of people know that the Seahawks are going to struggle without him, but I think it's going to be very emphasized this year just how bad because I have said, bottom 5 team. This team, the Seahawks team, is awful. I mean, they have some weapons, okay, Noah Fant, Tyler Lockett, DK, Sean Penny, I guess. But it's nothing spectacular. Alright, it's not. This isn't the Bucs from 2021. It's not a very complete roster, but I think this year is going to be so emphasized because the Seahawks. Let's look at the Seahawks schedule. Seahawks. They play the Broncos first. I think they're going to lose that game. That's going to be the first clue. I think they're going to lose to the Niners at San Francisco. I'll give them the win against the Falcons because they're rebuilding. The Falcons really don't have anyone. So what are they, 1-2? At Detroit. Now, here, you guys know I'm actually decently high. I wouldn't say I'm high in Detroit. I think they're going to be, I said, 5-12, 6-11. I think they lose to Detroit. I think that's going to be the first, that's going to be the first big problem where everyone's going to be like, oh my God, Seahawks are bottom, they're a bottom team without Wilson. Losing to the Broncos is the first kind of hint, but then you lose to the Lions. That's gonna hurt. 1-3 at New Orleans. They got a lot of road games at New Orleans. I'll give them another loss versus the Cardinals. At the Chargers, there's an argument to be made for the Lions, so maybe they're 2-5 by week 7. Yeah, I mean, all right, we'll go all the way up to week 9 because that's more than half the season. So you know what? I'll be positive. I'll say they're 2-5, so they beat the Lions. Home against the Giants. Then away against the Cardinals. So I'll say at best they're 3-6 by week 9. At worst, they're 1-8. So they're anywhere from 1-8 to 3-6. Now, that's bad either way, because that's like still going to be towards the bottom there. Now the Broncos, on the other hand, what do they got to open the season? Okay. Play the Seahawks, I'll give them a win. Then the Texans, another win, that's 2-0. Niners, they're going to be against Trey Lance in only his third start as a starting quarterback. So I'm going to give them a win there. They'll be 3-0. Raiders, that's a tough one. I'm going to give them the edge against the Raiders. That gives them 4-0. Colts, it's 5-0. Chargers, maybe 6. All right, I'll do the best and worst case for them too. That's 6-0. Jets 7. Jaguars 8. So best case scenario, they'll be like 9-0. By week 9. Worst case, okay, we'll say they lose to the Raiders and Chargers. That's all I can really talk myself into. The Raiders and Chargers, because they're away both of those games, so it's very possible they lose. But everything else I don't really see. I mean, I think maybe the Niners, but I can't really talk myself into that. Trey Lance's third start, it's like I don't see the Niners. I think the Niners are going to pick it up late. I don't see them winning early. So yeah, I think worst case they lose to the Chargers and Raiders at on the road. That's completely believable. So the Seahawks are over here anywhere from 1-8 to 3-6. Meanwhile, the Broncos anywhere from 7-2 to 9-0. Wilson will be with the Broncos and be a Super Bowl contender. And the Seahawks will be in the cellar. So, all right. So for where did I go wrong? There are only 2 scenarios where I was able to see, and maybe I'm forgetting a few, but apparently Brady was interested in the Raiders. At the time that this was announced, I didn't have a podcast at the time that came out, but I did not believe Brady was going to be a Raider. But apparently it was close. And second, I think this is the second week in a row where I'm saying, can't believe how bad the Yankees are struggling right now. I really thought they were legit. I really did. But they're 10-20 since the All-Star break. Now, to be fair with them, and instead of trashing on them, the Yankees are suffering a lot of injuries right now. Michael King was one of the best setup guys in the league. Giancarlo Stanton, on and off, but he was on a pretty good run this year. Clay Holmes was one of the best closers in the league until after the All-Star break, but so a few injuries, but I don't know. I'm shocked that they are 10-20 since the All-Star break. That was and they're no longer the best team in the MLB. That they were running away with that. Now it's they're losing it. But I think they can pick it back up. I'm confident. They do have a tough series against the Mets, though, so hopefully they can come up with a win there. And, all right. So, the Niners CEO, Jed York, said he'd be happy to have Jimmy G if the trade doesn't happen. I mean, I don't see why a team wouldn't want to trade for him. I'm going to go over how he would fit in each team later on, but if a trade doesn't happen and he's starting for the Niners, I mean, I guess great backup for you. If they stay healthy, I had them like number 5 on my power rankings going into the year. I'm high on them. I think they're a great team. Very well coached, very well run. I like how they look right now, but it would probably be better if Jimmy G is traded. Obviously, be much more efficient, but it's possible it won't work that way. All right, so Pete Carroll is not putting a timeline on choosing the starting quarterback. He says, I'm going to take the time it takes to figure it out. Now, they do have some weapons. They have some positives. Noah Fant is a decent tight end. DK is a good receiver, very talented. Tyler Lockett, very talented. They actually had a decent draft, which is for the first time in a while that I've actually agreed on who they're drafting. Kenneth Walker, I like. They got 2 left tackles. I thought that was they should have done that when Wilson was there. He probably would have not wanted to leave if he wasn't getting hit so much. But, they're building their own line. I think they're heading in the right direction. But this year is not going to be good for them. Okay, so Tom Brady is returning today after an 11th-day absence. And, the Bucs are a team that I had really high on my power rankings, and they fell because of what they lost. Their guard, Alex Kappa, signed with the Bengals. Ali Marpet retired. Ryan Jensen hurt his knee. Aaron Stinney tore his ACL. And then Tristan Wirfs is day-to-day with an oblique injury. That is 5 key O-linemen from last year that you are losing now. Brady is going to step on that field and not know a single soul on that O-line. So they got a lot of injury issues with their O-line. They'll win the division because they're in a division with the Panthers, who are going to be average at best. Falcons are rebuilding. And the Saints, who are going to be average at best. So they'll win the division. Their schedule is not the easiest. I mean, they open with Dallas. I think they win that. Saints, the Saints do always give them a trouble no matter what. But I think they come up with a win there. Got the Packers. Probably win that. The Chiefs would be tough. And normally these would be a lot of wins actually for me. Like, I would probably say they beat the Chiefs. But they're not healthy right now. So I'm not very high on them right now. It's I wouldn't be surprised if they lost to the Saints. They're in New Orleans. Saints always give them hell. It's possible they lose it. So Roquan Smith agreed to play his contract out, and he says negotiations are over right now. So Roquan Smith is probably their best player right now. Their defense is the best part about them. So, other than that, they have a quarterback who we're unsure about. Not a very good running game, not a very good O-line, and one receiver that I like, Daryl Mooney. Other than that, not much I'm looking forward to for the Bears. All right. So let's move on to the last part of the show. I'm going to go over how Jimmy G fits with each team. All right, so pretty much all the rumored teams, like not every team, but all the rumored teams they could possibly land with. We're going to start with the Giants. The Giants are an okay destination. For him, it's just odd, and I wouldn't trade for him now if I were the Giants, especially when you're waiting out on Daniel Jones. I guess to have him in case Daniel Jones blows up in the season, if he doesn't play well, I guess it wouldn't be bad to have him, but I'm not sure if he fits very well. It's okay. It's not nothing special, but it could work. Now the Browns, this is not a very good team to be with, especially with their ownership. They paid Baker to leave and paid Watson to sit. And just think about that. Not a very smart organization. And, there's no need to have Jimmy G right now when you're going to have Watson later in the season anyway. Then you're going to have Jimmy G sitting on the bench for, an entire year. There's no need for that. Especially when he's more than capable of starting. All right, the Seahawks are an okay They're an okay team to be with. They have some weapons. Don't kid yourself. It's just I feel like they should start going into a rebuilding era. Losing Russell Wilson is pretty much losing the Super Bowl contender, Super Bowl champion team they had. I would just rebuild and work from the ground up. But I guess a good way to start, rebuilding back up to that contender is to have a capable quarterback. A manageable quarterback. And, Jimmy G, that's what he is. The Falcons are a no. Thankfully, I haven't heard a lot of reports about that, but yeah, that's they're rebuilding. So, and they have Mariota, and they have a rookie, so it would be stupid to bring in Jimmy G when you already have a guy set up for the future, Desmond Ridder. The Dolphins is, that would be pretty stupid of them, because they're all in on Tua right now. They are, and they don't have a lot of money to offer Jimmy G. So there's not really a very valid reason as to why they would pay him right now. So, all right. The Bucs, I think, are the best fit right now. And that sounds crazy because they have Tom Brady, but I wouldn't want to be a rookie. I wouldn't want to be the guy to follow in Tom Brady's footsteps. And no one would want to be. But if you're going to pick someone to do it, it might as well be an experienced veteran. The pressure for a younger guy like to take over there, like Kyle Trask, that's a pretty big, it's a lot of pressure, I don't think it would be as much pressure for Jimmy G because he's backed Tom Brady before. He's been the backup, so I think he's the guy to pick for that. And Brady is probably going to leave next year. I'm not going to make any guarantees because if I do that, anytime I make a guarantee about Tom Brady, he proves me wrong, so I don't want him to, not going to make any predictions, say Brady's retiring this year, but he's going to be gone soon. Jimmy G is more experienced, and this team is too talented. Like, the Falcons, it's okay to tank the roster, tank the team, because that roster isn't talented. They have no one, except for maybe Calvin Ridley, that they can use right now. So it's best to rebuild. The Seahawks have a few talented guys, but they can still tank and rebuild, especially because the guys they have are younger, but the guys the Bucks have are mostly veterans. Talented veterans who, it would just be wasted talent if they were just to tank it after Brady left. So they should. I think they should start Jimmy J. All right. The Saints. You know what? I'll end it with the Saints. No, I won't. Okay. The Saints could work. But they have Jameis Winston there. I don't think he would want to back up anyone. Because he's not the best starter, but he's more than capable of doing it. So, but I guess, if Winston, he might be too wild, too freelancing. And I guess it wouldn't hurt to have a backup, but I'm not sure if the Saints have that money. Alright, I'm going to end it off with the Texans. Doesn't make sense. I know you might roll your eyes at Davis Mills, but, I do think they want to build around him. And last year, he did have a 67% completion percentage and an 89 pass rating. So Davis Mills, believe it or not, has promise. And even if they wanted Jimmy G, the Texans are, they're just not in that spot. They just got to rebuild. All right. So that's the show. I might have 2 more weeks left in me before I really start to taper off into not really posting at all. And I wish I didn't have to say that, but it's the reality because school is starting back up soon, and that's, I have very limited time to put together a whole podcast, and especially very little time to record one. So, alright. I'm going to make the most of these 2 weeks, and hopefully I can get back on track as soon as possible. Alright. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Listen Dylan. Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, or iHeartRadio. This is Dylan Miller on Daily Listen Dylan. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.